Thanks, man. Thanks so much for that. Thanks to Lucas for making me feel underdressed to start, and had a little stab at Google Plus along the way, so that was quite a twofer. My name's Shane Cahill. I'm an agency development manager. I work alongside Click on their sort of strategy and helping them with latest product updates, things along those lines. I've actually been at Google about 5 years now. I worked with direct clients for quite a while, and then for about 2 years in the middle, I was actually a product specialist where I worked on mobile and display. And that's actually where I got a lot of the love for what we're going to go through today, which is the power of audience and speaking about audience. So to start off with, can anyone tell me what this is? Binary, yeah, I think most people are pretty familiar with it, but this is essentially how we store data on computers. I know what you're thinking, it's like 15 minutes to lunch and he's talking about binary. This is going very, very poorly. I promise it's this little boring bit and then it will get interesting. But essentially this is how we store it, and this actually means hello in binary. The reason I tell you that is we're gradually building up to the scale of the sort of data that we now have in the world, and that makes me so excited. So that little word takes up 5 bytes of data. So we're used to, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, whatever it might be. In terms of each day on the internet, the amount of data we produce is 2.5 quintillion bytes of data. It's not too often we use quintillion. It's not, it's not one we use too often unless it's like, oh, I had like a quintillion chocolate bars yesterday. But, still hasn't become common usage. But the reason I mention this is, to me, this is, for marketeers, an incredible opportunity and also incredibly frightening, because that data amounts to about 4 millions of books. Each day we're producing that. And to give you some context, the British Library is actually the biggest in terms of number of items in the world. It's about 170 million. But if you added that and the other top 20 libraries in the world, it's still about 5,000 more books than those 20 combined. That's how much we're producing each day. This is the data that is now available to us. And those books stacked would go to the moon and back, essentially, from Earth. So as marketers, that should excite us. That should be something we say, wow, what can we do with this? And to give you a bit of an idea of the sort of actions that are taking place on the internet, we're going to very generously say I've only spoken for 60 seconds since I said hello, and have a look at some of the things that have happened since I have said hello. On Uber, there have been around 700 rides. Again, I would say that's slightly outdated now, but the latest figure we have. On YouTube, there have been 400 hours of video uploaded in 60 seconds. That's about 17 days of data, of video uploaded, and that's just in 60 seconds. On Google, there have been 2.5 million searches in that 60 seconds, and of those, and this is a stat you might have heard before, but about 15% have never been seen before, never at all by anyone. That's about 6,000 a second that we have never seen before, which obviously makes our job a lot easier to try and answer all of those accurately. Then we get on to things like Netflix. In the last 60 seconds, 77,000 hours of video streamed. And then on to things that, as marketers, we should know. So MasterCard have done about 123,000 transactions in that, and there have been about 75,000 transactions online. And just for a bit of fun, there have been just under 600,000 swipes on Tinder. Sadly, I have no breakdown of left or right or how many have occurred in this room, but that would have spiced this up slightly. And one thing actually that has happened since I made these slides just last week, have we all been following the phenomenon that is Pokemon Go? It is overtaken Tinder in the US as on more devices than Tinder, and it's just about to overtake Twitter in daily active users. I could pretend I haven't played it and wasted quite a lot of the last 3 days on it, but that's my life now, so I have to just accept it and move on. And what we've learned with Pokemon Go, with things like Tinder, as we've seen with Google, as we've seen with many, many other things, is that not only the data and the amount of information that we have about users has changed, but the way users interact with the internet has changed. And all of those ones that I just mentioned are absolutely mobile. They are mobile through and through. And a phrase we use a lot but is we no longer go online, we live online. And this is completely true. It used to be the case, even when I started in Google, that we said, you're targeting things, try 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, on computers. That's when people would go to their desk, do what they want to do, and complete it. That has just been blown out of the water. We heard Nick earlier mention about how the vast majority of it is online, how much people's activity has changed. And on average, we check our phones about 150 times a day. Has anyone downloaded the app where it tells you how many times you check your phone? I would advise against it. It scared the life out of me, and I instantly uninstalled it, but I can tell you it was a lot higher than that. The question is, with all these touch points, are they all as important as each other? No, obviously not. If you're using a flashlight app to find an earring, that's not particularly a great time for us, but there are hundreds and thousands of occasions each day that are perfect opportunities for us to catch up with our users. Another thing that we've learned with the advent of online, and the more we start to measure things, and I know we're getting to measurement later, is just how our perceptions are being challenged about what we thought we knew about our business or about our demographics or about our audience. So for instance, 40% of all baby products purchased are from households without children. Either people who haven't had babies yet or buying presents for someone else. But again, if you were targeting based on what you thought your demographics are, you could miss out on 60% of your audience. Same with video games. Only 31% are males between 18 and 34. Again, we would have thought that was our absolute key demographic, and it's less than a third of what we were looking for. There are lots more of these examples, but basically a lot of the things that we thought we knew are being thrown completely on their head. You can look through a few of them there. Not so sure about 68% of the skin and body care people being male, but look, we'll move on from that. The question really when you hear all that is, okay, we've got more data than we've ever got before, that 2.5 quintillion, and that's the smallest that number is ever going to be. So it's going to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. We've more data than ever before. We've more times and ways to reach people than ever before. And the things that we thought we knew are not necessarily proving true when we start to see that data, which leaves most of us feeling like this, as in where do we start? Where can we possibly begin? And I think the thing that a lot of people would say to me is, I need to go programmatic. And programmatic is one of those things like gluten-free that suddenly everyone has just started saying, and they just move on with their lives. But really, you need big budgets if you're thinking of things like DoubleClick, and you need a lot of expertise as well, and that's not to be overlooked. So what can you do if you're looking to make a sort of entry-level start into using audience to really maximize what you can do? I think the first thing is start with your data. Start with what you already have. Almost all of you will have analytics and maybe using remarketing lists, but building up lists of existing audiences from there. Use your customer emails for things like customer match, and we'll get to those later. But use the data that's at your hand and help us to generate more data from that. Then you can start to layer that using data that we already have, whether that be your location, whether it's the context of what people are looking at, or their behavior. What are they doing on the internet? And then we really need to act on it in real time. And this is where personalization is so important. Things like automated bidding to get the right people, dynamic ads to make sure we're showing the right things. And just to break it down very quickly into a sort of a three-step process, for me it's about finding your audience, finding a new audience, growing your existing one, and keeping your active, loyal users active and loyal. So let's start off briefly with finding new customers. This is something people seem to have a lot of trouble with. They often come to us and say, I'm having trouble getting new customers on board that really, really want my business. And for me, there are three things we can quickly do here, and we'll go through each in detail, but similar audiences, in-market audiences, and contextual audiences. To break these down for those who aren't used to them, similar audiences is really, really simple. We use your existing customer list, your remarketing list. We take that, we analyze the demographics, we analyze their interests, and we give you the exact same audience in terms of similar, but taking away your existing audience. So all you're getting is a brand new amount of brand new audience that you can use at any time for various different purposes, and we'll get to that in a minute. Contextual is slightly different. This actually came about with things like affinity audiences. Basically, a lot of people were coming to us and saying, hey, we use these audiences on TV, things like shopaholics, TV lovers, whatever it might be. And the great thing I love about these is that they're constantly refreshed. If you come to me in January, if you come to most of us in January and try and assess what we like based on what we browse, we're probably all going to be gym addicts and healthy food eaters. If you come to us in March and April, it's a lot less likely that I'm going to be on it. I don't know about any of you. Maybe your clear resolution stickers do, but not me. But these are constantly refreshed. This is not someone who likes something once and then never browses it again. They're constantly looking at it throughout the year and various different sites about it. And lastly, and one that's only really come about lately, is in-market audiences, which is people that are in the market for something. And this is the difference between interest and intent. This is someone that we know, based on their browsing patterns, is actually really close to purchasing a product or service, whether that be video software, a trip to Miami, real estate, insurance. That's something really, really tangible. So we know they're looking at reviews. They're right at the cusp of purchasing that. And what a powerful time to interact with someone. And so this is a great way of finding new customers, and a lot of people have used this really well. Ford in New Zealand found that they got about a 60% increase in website visitors, but not just that, because anyone can drive people to a website, but are they the right people? And the people that came were spending about 3 times more on the site, and they were really finding it hugely, hugely effective. So that's the find section. The next section is about growing. How do we grow the customers we already have? How do we use this data to really, really grow our base? And for me, I've put down some of the key things that we might be doing on the internet, whether it's searching, mail, YouTube, surfing the web, apps, and how we can use some of the audience data to really grow those. So we've got customer match, using our existing bunch of emails from existing customers across all these different networks. Then you've got basic display remarketing, which a lot of you will use, and we can push into dynamic remarketing and various other things. And lastly, ORLSA, and I think each of those is worth a very quick look at. Is anyone here using customer match at the minute? A few here and there. Finding it useful? Pretty good? Excellent. Well, look, I mean, similar to this has been around on Facebook for quite some time. Came in last year for Google, but essentially you upload your list of existing customers, segment it how you want, purchasers, loyal purchasers, repeat purchasers, whatever it might be. And then across these different platforms, you can start to target them. So let's say Gmail sponsored promotions, you can flash up with a promotional email saying, hey, here are some other styles you might like based on what they purchased, or holidays, whatever it might be. You can even do YouTube, and this is shoppable YouTube, where not only do you get a YouTube video, you get little product listing ads, as we used to call them, or shopping ads along the side, showing the exact products that are in the ad. What a great way to re-energize the customer base that you have, to see something new and come back and purchase again with you. Then we have display remarketing. I'd imagine a huge amount of you are using this, where you have a list of existing visitors to your website, and you show them an ad to remind them to come back or maybe purchase. This is a typical one of what it looks like. This gets so much more powerful when you switch this to dynamic remarketing, showing them the exact products they visited and getting that back to them. And this doesn't just work for retail. Actually, some of the best results we see for this are in travel, especially around hotels and apartments and that sort of thing. So this is available for pretty much every vertical as long as you put in the time to do it. Phenomenally successful there. And lastly, ORLSA. This is just using the remarketing list that you have, so that when you show someone a search ad, they visit your website, and then they search again. You can either choose to bid higher so that you're top of the search for them, or bid down if you don't want to be in the search for them if they're coming back. But also you can change your messaging, and this is really, really important as well. The subtle change to say this is the last day of your sale is really telling them, actually, you've been to the website before, you didn't buy last time, we'd really like you to buy this time. That's the subtle message you're getting through to them. And again, those call to actions really, really work. Again, customer match is quite a new one. I'd say a lot of you will have used remarketing or ORLSA, but someone like Pegasus used customer match and found not just lower cost per acquisition, higher conversion rate, that sort of stuff, but really they found it allowed them to tailor their message. And for people that are conscious of their brand, this is really vital as well. It's not just about that bottom line. It's about making sure you get the right message to the right person at the right time. And this really gave them that control over it. And when we get into keep your customer base, I'm just going to sort of look a bit forward and see what might be coming down the line. And this is where I get really excited. Terrified, because there's so much you can do, but excited about the possibilities that are out there. And the future is this real-time personalization with audience. So identify what a person is like, what do they like, and changing their experience right there on the spot to something that will suit them better. And if we've learned one thing about the internet, is that people want to customize, they want to personalize, and they like when we respond to that. And what you can see, 22% increase in purchaser frequency, 67% increase in website visits. This is for sites that allow personalization. And all I've included here is actually, this is an ex-Googler that went out on their own with Shoes of Prey, where you can make shoes in 1,000 different colors, cloths, whatever it might be. I'm not sure I go for that particular style myself, but I guess that's what the internet is for, allowing each person to choose. And this does work. I was on a site the other day, embarrassing for a 30-year-old, but buying Astro trainers to play five-a-side football in the worst game of football ever invented. And it said, would you like to personalize your boots with your initials and a flag for €4? And I said, yeah, definitely. So now I have SC and a little Irish flag beside it. So while I'm missing every single shot that takes, at least I'll look good while I do it. And this is where everything is going. If we have this data and we know what people like, there's no limit to what we can do. And as the technology starts to catch up, we will see more and more of that. And this is where I think things are going. This is Caribou Coffee, and if you buy particular types of them or you're browsing certain types of coffee, they'll change their whole homepage to you, to your likes, to your dislikes. And that sounds kind of, future and not really going to happen anytime soon. But if you think of something like Amazon, all the products you look at the Amazon homepage are to you. YouTube's homepage is based on what you like and dislike. Who's to say that, in time we won't know this person responds well to the color red or the color blue, let's make the site that color. This person likes to call, let's make that central. Video content is key, let's make that central. They're on Facebook but not LinkedIn, take away that, put in this. We're getting to the point where we talk about the Internet of Things, but we're getting to the point where it's the Internet of you or the Internet of me, in that we won't see the same internet as everyone else. It's already happened with search results, as we talked about earlier. Most of search results now, the ranking is unique to you. Why would it be any different with the pages that we visit? And that to me is hugely, hugely exciting. I do have a few warnings on it, and I think we've touched on some of these already today. Everyone likes to be privileged, everyone likes personalization, but no one likes to be a target. I hate when something says, hey Shane, here's something that's nearby to you. I don't want you to know my name. I like when something is to my taste, as everyone does. In some of the stats here you'll see afterwards are very much to that. But beware that you're not targeting people and you're not making it really personal about them. The next warning is, with great power comes great responsibilities. I don't know, can you see the fact up there, but it says 2/3 of large businesses have suffered a data breach in the past year, which is absolutely frightening and not surprising. And we talked a lot about trust earlier in a good few of the different talks. But if you give someone trust once and they break it, you don't go back. If you give someone your bag to hold and when you come back that bag is gone, you're unlikely to ask them to hold your stuff anymore. And that is essentially the same with data. We need to take it, use it wisely, and protect it overall. And I think that is really, really important. And to end on, you need to use this data to amplify your relationships. And we touched on this earlier, but we can't forget that these are people at the end of it. And one of the exciting things I think about data is that it's almost a throwback in time. When people were marketing way, way back in shops, it was one-to-one. You walked into a shop and someone said, hey Shane, I noticed you bought this earlier. This one's new, it's over here. That's almost what we're able to get back to. And if we remember there is a person at the end of that and not a commodity, it can really shape the content we do, the message we give, and how our message is received as well. So on that note, I'll let you all get to lunch because you've waited long enough. So thanks a million for your time and attention.